So I finally decided, after using my server for the last 6 months as a PFSense box, that I should probably get something dedicated to handling routing and DHCP and DNS and everything else. So I bit the bullet and finally purchased an actual router. So I went and I purchased a Cisco 3825. Thing's kind of big, heavy. So it's got 1 gig input, 1 gigabit output. It's got an SFP port, an aux and a console, and this is what I'm going to be configuring today. So at work, I've been handling the configuration of our routers there, setting up the VPN between the two, and then setting up Cisco AnyConnect. So hopefully just setting up a home router shouldn't be that difficult. But we'll see how this is. Being a little bit older, being an older version of Cisco IOS that I'm not familiar with, anything could happen. So we'll find out. Okay, so I reinitialized my router, and I'm now going to start the initial configuration. Now, as you see, under the system configuration dialog, it's asking me if I want to go ahead and enter the initial configuration. I'm going to go ahead and say no, because I want to do it manually. And don't tell me. Ah, crap. There it is. Okay. So, I was thinking maybe my interface was down, but it's not. Now, let's look at the initial configuration. See. Oh, actually, I need to log into it first. Okay, so there is nothing down, or nothing going on. We can see both of the interfaces are shut down, and nothing else is going on. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and set the host name. So now if I do show run, which what that is actually doing, it's showing the running configuration. So if I go back up top, up here, now it says hostname mytechliving. And now instead of router, it says mytechliving. So next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and configure the two interfaces to make sure they both are no longer shut down. So config T to enter a configuration terminal. I'm going to do int for interface, and then G00. That's interface gigabit 00. So now this is going to be no shut for no shut down, and then again show. Oh, now the interface is coming online. Show run, and now it's going to show interface 00 is right there. So now that's up and then down. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for gigabit 01. So config T int G01 no shut. Now that's down. That's now back up. So now it says change state to up. So now the next thing that I'm going to go ahead and do is, because I want it to get the IP address automatically, or the WAN connection, I want to get the IP address automatically. I'm going to go ahead and set the interface gigabit 00 to DHCP. So config T int G00, and then I'm going to go ahead and do IP address DHCP. What'd I do? Okay, IP DRSS DHCP. Apparently I can't spell. So now that's set up for that. I'm also going to set that up so it's the external IP, or the WAN connection. So I'm going to do IP NAT outside. So once that finishes, Okay, so now it's going to be listed as being the external interface. So end. So now let's go ahead and check it again. Show, run. So now IP, or for gigabit Ethernet 00, IP address DHCP, IPNet outside, IP virtual assembly reassemble, so all that's done. So now let's do one other thing. So we're going to do show int So now it's showing gigabit Ethernet 00 is up, line protocol is down. Let me see, is it pulling an IP address? I don't see. Internet address will be negotiated using DHCP. Alright, gigabit Ethernet 01 is up. Okay, so it's showing it's going to get it from DHCP. I don't know why it's not pulling an IP address yet. But let me go ahead and pull the Ethernet cable and plug it back in. So now it should show that it is down. Well, it looks like the port is not showing as being active, unfortunately. Don't know why. I don't know if it's a cable or not. Oh well, we can move on from that. So next thing we're going to go ahead and do is configure the second port. So show, run, see what's going on. Gigabit Ethernet 00, IP DHCP, IPNet outside, IP virtual reassembly. Interface gigabit Ethernet 01, so that one's showing now as not being down. So let's bring that back up. So config t int g01 no shut for no shutdown. Now it'll bring that interface back up. Give it a second. Okay, maybe it won't. So no shut. And then let's go IPNet inside. And then I'm going to go ahead and set the IP address. So IP address 192.168.10.1, and then the subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Enter. And then exit out of this. End. And then show run. So now it's showing the interface gigabit Ethernet 01 has an IP address of 192.168.10.1, subnet mask of 255.255.255. It is the IPNet inside, and everything else looks to be good. So now I'm going to go ahead and write mem. This is writing the configuration. I can also do, I think it's running config, startup config. That's not it. Oh, I'm sorry. It's copy, running config, startup config. There you go. And now that's, both of those do kind of the same thing. One's just an older command compared to the other one is newer. Okay, so now that is the configuration is now saved on the actual router. But now what we need to do is go ahead and set up an access list or an access control list on here. So I'm going to go ahead and go back in config t, go to access list. I'm going to name it 101. Then I'm going to go ahead and do permit IP, and then this is to permit the IP traffic. So 192.168.10.0. So it's going to permit all IP traffic on that subnet. And then I need to do the subnet mask, so it's 0.0.0.255 and then any. So that's going to allow any traffic on that subnet with that IP address scheme. Okay, now exit out of that. Next thing I need to do is go ahead and set up a source list and an IP route. So we are going to do config t IP NAT inside source list 101, and this is using the access list that we just made. Now we need to go ahead and allow that traffic through the specific port, so gigabit Ethernet 0, then overload. Enter. What did I do? Gigabit ETH. What? Let's try this. Okay, why isn't this working? IPNet inside source list 101 interface. That's why. Okay, now we're good. So now let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so the access list right there, we have the actual pointing at the interface. Is there anything else we need to do? Oh, I need to create an IP pool, or a dhcp IP pool. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we are going to do config t IP dhcp pool my tech living. So now that creates that one. Now let's go ahead and create this. So it's going to be network 192.168.10.0 and then the subnet mask 255.255.255.0. And I may actually change that sometime in the future to limit the amount of IP addresses. Because this is a home network, I don't need 254 IP addresses accessible. So let's go ahead and do that. And now let's go ahead and select the default router, which is this. So it's going to be default router 192.168.10.1, and this should actually be the same IP address as this. Yeah, 10.1. Enter. So that's set. And then we can also set up a DNS server in this if we wanted to. That would just be done by DNS server and be 8.8.8.8, and that is the DNS server of Google. And we can also do a second one, so 8.8.4.4, and that would incorporate both of Google's current DNS servers. I'm not going to go ahead and do that yet. I will in the future, but just for testing purposes at this point. Because we're connected to Comcast, they will normally supply us with the DHCP servers of their own. So now let's go ahead and exit out of this and then show run. And let's go ahead and take a look at this. So up at the top we now have hostname mytech living, IP dhcp pool mytech living, network 192.168.10.0 with a subnet mask of 255.255.255, default routers 192.168.10.1. We keep scrolling down and we see the main two interfaces. So gigabit Ethernet 00, it'll get its IP address through DHCP. It's the IPNet outside interface gigabit 01, IP address 10.1, 255.255.0 is a subnet mask. It is IPNet inside. Let me see. IPNet inside source list, giving access to gigabit Ethernet 00, and then the access list to permit all traffic on 168.10 with that particular subnet mask and allow any traffic. So now it should technically allow traffic through. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can get a connection from my wall port right here. I don't know why it's not working, but it's not. And actually, before I forget, I'm gonna do copy running config startup config, and yes. I'm also going to do the normal way, so write mem. Now let's see if I can figure out why this cable isn't working. Okay, so there we go. Looks like it might have just been a bad Ethernet cable. Alright, so now it's coming back up. And actually, I need to go ahead and reset my computer's network real quick. So Ethernet, I'm going to go ahead and disable this, then I'm going to re-enable it. And I want to do this so it'll pull a new IP address. So let's see what this does now. So as you can see in the back, change state to down, change state to up. And that's pulled an IP address now of 3.36, so that's good. So now, this is now pulling an IP address of 10.2, DHCP server 10.1, IPv4 default gateway 10.1. DNS server is not coming up though. However, it looks like I may have a connection to the internet now. No, I don't. Okay, so DNS probe finished. So that's because I do not currently have a DNS server connected on this. So let me go ahead and try this. So config t int. Actually, I need to go up and see what my DHCP pool is named. Okay, so it's mytech living. So it's gonna be int DHCP pool mytech living. So now I'm into the DHCP pool. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up the DNS server in this. And I believe it's currently set up so it is and actually I have another laptop set up right next to me, so I'm going to go ahead and check out the Wi-Fi and see what it's actually pulling as a DHC or the DNS server. Properties, once it comes up. Details. Okay, so it's saying 3.1 DNS server. (192.168.3.1) exit and right mem. Let's see. Details. So yeah, it's still not pulling that. So let me go ahead and disable again and then re-enable. And as you can see in here, it showed the line state went to down, and then it's going to go back up to up. And then let's see if this pulled DNS server yet. Okay, so that pulled that DNS server now. However, because these are on technically two different networks, it's seeing that 168.3.1 as the WAN or it's thinking it is. It doesn't like to talk with each other. So let's see. Okay, so Google did come up. Alright. So the internet's now up. That's convenient and very nice. So begin the test. Let's see what my speed is like right now. Earlier it wasn't very good. Looks like my latency might be bad. Okay. Alright, and that's right what I'm paying for right now. I'll take it. So it looks like this is now configured. It is up and running, functioning. So now, from this point forward, I will be running through this as opposed to my server, which is ridiculously overkill. I hope you learned something, hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I can do more like this in the future.